Okay, I'm going to be honest. I was not prepared for what I was about to see in the movie, The Substance. I had seen the trailer. I didn't end up doing a trailer breakdown for it. And the reason I didn't is I was a little nervous. I had a lot of reservations based off what I saw in the trailer, that I was curious and I was intrigued to go see this movie, but I was not sure if it was going to deliver, pardon the pun, but I thought the trailer was all style over substance. And I could not have been more wrong, and I'm so delighted to say I could not have been more wrong. So we're gonna do a creative breakdown on the movie, give a report card on the movie. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Really appreciate that. Turn the notifications on, helps the channel out so much. As with all the reviews, they will be spoiler-free, so you're welcome to watch this review prior to seeing the movie without having any spoilers in the movie. And with all of our reviews, we look at 7 different elements of the actual film itself. We look at the visuals, we look at the sound design, we look at the acting, we look at the directing, the editing, the story, and overall, was this an entertaining movie? So let's start with the thing that I actually had reservations about going into the movie, which ended up being one of the best parts of the movie, which was the visuals. And I'll break down the visuals into 2 components. One is the cinematography, and 2 is the practical effects that were used in the movie. With the cinematography, this was the one I was really nervous about. If you watch the trailer, you notice that they're using a lot of close-up shots with wide-angle lenses to distort how people are looking. And even though this can be really effective as a way to enhance the narrative of a film, it could also feel a little gimmicky. And that was my fear going into this was, oh, this is going to be a really gimmicky film. It wasn't. Once you see the whole actual film and see how they constructed each shot and why they chose to compose certain scenes in certain ways, then it makes sense. Out of context, when it's cut together in a trailer, it doesn't necessarily make as much sense. Once you see it in the film, you understand why they chose the creative direction that they chose for different shots and different scenes. It was a beautifully filmed movie, really great cinematography. In fact, I really have to give kudos to how they used balance and symmetry in a lot of the shots, which, as someone who's a little OCD, I can really appreciate that. Next is the practical effects. The practical effects in this movie, once again, they marketed this as a body horror film. I was not prepared for the David Cronenberg level of practical effects and gore in this movie. They really, really, and there were so many scenes that I had to close my eyes, that I had to look away. Not in a, oh, this is terrible, but in a, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. This is so crazy. This is so over the top. This is so abundant. And that's the big thing. If you're expecting a movie that's really rooted in reality, this is not the movie for you. This is a fantasy. This is an imagination. And this takes real elements that exist in our society, and amplifies them or puts light, sheds light on them in a really creative way. The practical effects, I'll even say David Cronenberg would be envious of the practical effects in this movie. Let's look at sound. Sound was so good. Sound was flawless, absolute perfection in sound. The sound of, I can't even say it because it would give away too much. The sound was flawless. Just say that. The acting also brilliantly done. Demi Moore, such a standout in this film. Directing really good, and you have to give a lot of kudos to the director for making a lot of bold, a lot of daring decisions in how she constructed this movie. Then comes into the editing, and in fact, this is unfortunately the part that drags the movie down. Now, to be clear, I love this movie. This is one of my favorite movies I've not only seen this year, but one of my favorite horror movies I've seen. This is a really, really good movie, and it is a movie I will go back to watch to pick up more from. But here's my problem with the editing. It comes in a few different elements. Number one, this movie had a tremendously long runtime. I think it was around 2 hours and 20 minutes. And that was really, really bloated. Pardon the pun. You could have shaved off easily. You could have shaved off 20 to 30 minutes, and a more skilled editor would have shaved off 30 to 40 minutes. This movie would have excelled and had so much better pacing in the hour to 30, maybe hour to 40 range. There were parts in this movie that felt like, I looked at my watch at one point. I was like, this movie's not even half over yet. Okay, that's not a good feeling to have as a viewer, to realize, "Oh, there's so much more of this movie." And that really comes down to the editing. It was not cut together as well as it should have been. It really impacted the pacing. It made the movie feel as long as it was. The other issues I had with the editing, number 2, was there was a handful of continuity errors that were pretty obvious when watching the movie. Um, and that's frustrating to see as a viewer, to see that. How did you not, like, I noticed it right away. How did you not catch that continuity error? And then number 3, um, during the, I'll just say the transformation scenes, there was a lot of cutaway scenes to strobing lights, or cameras panning over lights, or lights blurring into the lens, or lights moving or spinning, or panning in certain ways. It was pointless. It was filler. And already there's a lot happening in this movie. This is a long movie. It was really unnecessary filler that, my guess, it was shot by a B crew and added in just to add in more visual effects. It was not needed in any way, shape, or form. I really feel a good editor if we looked at that and said, we don't need this. Everything else is solid. The practical effects are phenomenal. The acting is great. The story is great. The cinematography is great. We don't need all this auxiliary ancillary crap that's just bogging down the movie. It's not necessary. So the editing was the thing that I really took the most issue with, and it was the only thing I took issue with. So let's look at the story. The story was amazing. It was so good. Like I said, this is not a movie that's based in what we perceive as the real world. People don't act like you would expect them to act. They're definitely caricatures of certain archetypes. The metaphor of the objectification of women was really profound and really strong in this movie, and very obvious in this movie. And another thing I thought was really interesting is the objectification of men, which does happen through lens choice. So you notice, like, especially in the trailer, you see the scenes of like Dennis Quaid eating. It's repulsive, it's repugnant, it's disgusting. It's meant to make you feel uneasy, but in no way does it negatively impact him. So we can objectify men in this film, but it's not going to negatively impact them. The film is about the objectification and the societal impacts, the negative impacts of the objectification of women. I thought that was really powerful and really well told. The entertainment value was really high. I really liked this movie. I had a great time watching this movie. The only issue I had was the editing, which made the runtime a little too long. So report card time. What's the report card? Visuals, 9 out of 10. The only knockdown I give it on visuals would just be those weird cutaway scenes. They were unnecessary. Sound design, 10 out of 10. Acting is a 10 out of 10. Directing, 9 out of 10. The only knock I give on that is, once again, as a director, you are working with your editor in this. So you allow certain decisions to be made. And we just had a movie that was a little too long. Editing, 3 out of 10. This was the worst part of the movie. Story, 10 out of 10. It's clear to see why this won Best Screenplay at Cannes. And then entertainment, 9 out of 10. The only knock on entertainment I give is just that one tick away for just being a little too long. This was such a fun movie. I was not prepared. Like, I know that he marketed this as a body horror film. Emphasis on horror. This was a horror film, and such a like. This is the only, like, it's not really a spoiler, but the only thing I'll say is they may have rivaled Evil Dead 2 in the amount of fake blood that they used in this movie. That's all I can say. Go check out this movie. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know if you had a chance to check out this movie in the comment section below. If there are other movies you want me to do a report card on, also let me know in the comment section below. Appreciate you tuning in. We'll talk to you all in the next screening. Take care, everyone.